record this. Okay, good stuff. We can talk about just the ideas of it, but sometimes it's hard to know where it's actually taking place. And so when we look at the conditions of systems change, we can see that people who work in the space of change management, remember, change management is a set of tools, is a set of practical things that we can learn to change. So some of those changes or change leaders or change managers work in the space where they're actively changing policies, actively changing practices, and actively changing resource flow. So that's like where money is going in certain organizations or through developing organizations of their own. Change leaders sometimes operate in if we can see here in that transformative change, in that deeper change. So change leaders sometimes operate in that level where they change your idea, they change your perspective, they change how you're thinking about something, but they might not be working in the space of changing systems directly, but it's their presence, it's their ideas, it's just their force that's there that makes you go, okay, you know, he's right. What he's talking about, we got to look at it a little bit differently here. So then when we started talking about a social entrepreneurship and what that kind of is, it's almost like a type of change leadership. It's a type of leader that puts together projects, programs, organizations in place in order to fulfill a gap. So social entrepreneurs, we can call them problem solvers, like just point blank simple individuals who see a problem and they go forth and they try to address it in some capacity. I think this slide, Lavi mentioned it as well. So you recognize a problem within society, and then you go ahead and you try to develop a change for it. Back when we started teaching this, like not that long ago, even there, people didn't used to see a difference between a social or people were trying to make a difference between social entrepreneurship and kind of business entrepreneurship. They're trying to say like the difference that kind of exists within them. They say that like if you're in there for your own self, it's about profit, it's about not doing something for the greater good, but typically something for you. That's now starting to change. People like even Elon Musk is seen as a social entrepreneur. He's now like the richest man in the world, and he like became the richest man in the world by taking like the cobalt from Congo for his electric cars. People think electric cars are like, oh, it's so environmentally friendly, but it's like kids who like dig it up, like it's not even proper mines. But anyways, this guy who's now called a social entrepreneur because he wants everyone to drive in electric cars instead of like gas driven cars. He's making his money, like he's a regular entrepreneur making his money, but because there's that kind of social greater good goal attached to it, he's given that kind of a label of being a social entrepreneur as well. So to break it up a bit, to not make it boring, Pam, we're gonna try to have a little discussion here. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to take a look at this, and we want to take a look at our heroes and see where our heroes' strengths and potential weaknesses are. Because a lot of times when we look at leadership in general, we can say that Black people, Congolese people especially, were very strong on the side of change leadership. Somebody who can come present to you an idea, somebody who can come inspire you with a word, somebody who can come talk to you. That space we tend to be fairly strong, you know, for some reason, for some odd reason, you know, but it's been said before that even in the space of the management of the change, sometimes that's where we sometimes struggle. So when we bring back to the example, what I was talking about before, if you look at even the independence of Congo, we were able to get independence and our heroes were there speaking out for us. It was a global thing. Everyone in the world knew who Patrice Lumumba was, knew what the cause of Congo was, knew how bad and deep the colonialism in Congo was. But as soon as they got independence, a couple weeks later, has anybody heard of a general name? General, I think his name is Janssen. So General, uh, he went to the army. So the whole country gets independence. We're singing in the streets, independence, cha cha, da 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 da. You know that song. We're singing it in the streets, but in the structure, when we go back to this slide here, in the structure there was a structure of the military, a system of the military within the country there. Those soldiers too were inspired by the words that they were hearing from Lumumba and all those people there, and they thought that the promise of independence for them would be, okay, we would move on up too. We would become officers. We wouldn't be lowly soldiers anymore. But after independence was given, a soldier goes on the board, or the general of the force publique at the time, who was still a white person, General, I think Yan Sense. Like if somebody can correct me, that's totally okay. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. He goes and famously writes on a board, um, before independence, after independence equals before independence, meaning that there's a certain change that happened that we can acknowledge on some level, sure. But at another level, I'm still your boss. You still got to listen to me. I'm white, but nothing really changed after this independence. And that's that kind of critique that they've been giving us at that change management, change leadership level. So we had barely any college educated people. The country pretty much fell apart because, was it interference from foreign governments? Absolutely. But was it also a lack of experience in managing a country? It could be that as well also. But then we can see the example of another leader we had in Congo, one like a Mobutu, who came afterwards. Mobutu tried to also be like a somebody who can really inspire you, like a change leader. He would try to go to the UN and make speeches. He would try to be that kind of like leader for all of Black Africa, the one champion for all of Black African causes. It always kind of fell flat for that guy, even though his ideas were good. You can go back and watch his speeches now. It makes sense. He would call out Western powers, he would call out bad practices, do all those kind of things. But for some reason, his strength wasn't there. His strength seemed to be more in the management side of things. When Mobutu decided to manage things, he was able to control things. He was able to stop the rebellions, control the army, even the economy to some extent. Was where his practices good, policies good? Not necessarily, but at the end of the day, he was able to manage things. So I want us to have a discussion here. In the spirit of Black History Month, I have four Black leaders that we have here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break us up into groups. There's four of them. There's four of them here. We're gonna break out into teams. Let me stop sharing here so I can see how many people. Are we like 9? Give me 1 second to count you guys here. I don't know. I'll figure it out afterwards. It'll be like probably 2, maybe 3 to like a group. What you're gonna do is in your team, Google the individual if you don't know them already. Try to figure out what problem were they trying to solve. Look at them from not just perspective of being a historic figure that inspired people, blah blah blah. Try to fully identify the problem that they were looking to address, or the gap in society that they were looking to fill. And then after that, answer the question according to your own understanding. You can use Google to help you figure it out more. Were they change leaders? Were they social entrepreneurs? Or were they both? Um, so write those questions down before I stop sharing. I'm gonna stop sharing it. Are there any questions before we move on any further? Any questions to what we're talking about? It seems all pretty clear. Okay, so there's 9 of us here. I think what I'll do is I'll take one person away. We'll just do 3, and then there'll be 3 per group. I'm gonna do something called breakout rooms right now. You guys are gonna be broken up randomly to different places. What we're gonna do after we come back, I'll give us 30 minutes in the breakout rooms. When maybe less than that, maybe 20 minutes in the breakout rooms. Once we come back, assign one person from each group to present. You'll be given 5 minutes each to present each of those individuals there. And then we're gonna get into some local contextual examples here after that. Make sense? So once you're in your groups there, I'll come tell you who the individual who you gotta look up is. Okay, rooms are open. I'll see you guys in a bit. Felicia, I think you gotta hit join, and Papandembe too. Papandembe, there should be an option there to say join room. Okay, there it is. Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Hey, none of you guys have your video on? How come my video stopped working?
I don't know.
What is this? Okay, while I try to fix my video, you guys have a person here, You guys are gonna do Steve Biko.
I tried to take a picture before you put the questions away, and it was too late.
Oh, really? Why didn't you?
I was like literally getting my phone out, tried to take a picture, and then you like unshare it. I was like, okay.
Oh, okay, hold on. I can show that to you guys. 1 second. I'm just trying to fix my video actually. Like, give me like 1 quick second.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be working.
South African anti-apartheid activist. Okay. Yes.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so you guys are doing Steve Biko. The questions are gonna be What problem did they identify? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
What problem did they solve or attempt to solve, and were they change leaders or social entrepreneurs?
That's this slide you're showing us. That's the questions here.
Yep. Yeah, these are the questions.
It says social entrepreneur.
Oh, sorry. Were they change leaders, social entrepreneurs, or both?
Oh, this just tells us what a social entrepreneur is. Is that what the questions are, or isn't a different slide that the questions were on?
No, like these are the discussion questions here. So when I went through the slide, I was trying to talk about this slide here, like the difference between change leadership
Okay.
and change management.
Okay.
So if you guys remember this slide here, it was change leadership versus change management. There's some leaders that are very vocal. There's some leaders that inspire through word or through different kind of actions. There's a different subset of leaders that use different tools within the system to get that kind of change. And some of those leaders we call social entrepreneurs. And so social entrepreneurs, like for some people who might not have been there in the other on like Friday. So those are people who like worked in the Red Cross, or people who might have started the Red Cross, people who started organizations that kind of do good in society. And so we're trying to look at the difference that kind of exists, or the, with these different kind of leaders out there. And I want you guys to do a profile of Steve Biko. A lot of this information you'll be able to find pretty easily on like Wikipedia or whatever. But if you try to look at like the organizations he tried to set up and how he tried to bring about change, it'll help make some of that stuff more clear.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. The slide I'm looking at right now says social entrepreneur. So I don't see questions on here. So that's why I was wondering what the questions are.
Oh, which social entrepreneur?
Like this, you're sharing your screen, right? And all I see is the slide that says social entrepreneur.
Oh, interesting.
Question there. That's why I was like, what's the question? Because I don't see
it.
it.
Yeah, the questions are, what problems did they solve? And then were they change leaders, social entrepreneurs, or both?
Okay.
All right. Raisa, you good?
Yes, I even researched already.
Okay.
about Steve, and his idea was that he would stimulate a revolution of the mind. So he was anti-apartheid.
Yeah, apartheid. Yeah.
Okay. Benita, are you good?
I'm good. I'm right here.
Okay, you guys understand. All right, so just try to dig in a little bit deeper, and I'll go take a look to see what the other people are doing in their breakout rooms. Give them their person. All right, I'll be right back. Hello? Hey, sorry, guys. I came in a little bit late. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Waiting for me. My apologies. I was just explaining everything to the other team there. Were you guys able to grasp the questions overall?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for your individual, we are going to do Fred Hampton.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
Sorry.
We were gonna do him anyway.
Huh?
Yeah, because we were confused for a second, because I was like, oh, I think he's gonna come in, and then Pamela was like, oh, I think we just choose. I'm like, okay, just in the meantime, just choose. And she's like, okay, well, I'm looking at Fred Hampton, so we've been looking at him anyway.
Interesting. Okay, no, good stuff. You know, it ended up working. I know the other team just needed some of them weren't here like Friday, and they needed a little bit more explanation. So That's why I was a bit late. But yeah, you guys do Fred Hampton. Look at the problems they're trying to solve. Look at the organization side of things as well. I think that's what's really going to help bring the exercise to light as well, or put that real context there to see if they were change, or what kind of change leader they really were. Were they the social entrepreneur type? Were they the change management type, or the change leader type, or a different combination of them? So yeah, you guys got that one there. And I'll leave you to it. I'm going to end the breakout rooms in like 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Vince? Hey, Julie, I'll be right back. I just created some breakout rooms for the other people. We just have one assignment that we're doing here really quick. I'll be right back for you and Vince. I'm just going to go explain the assignment to the other side very quickly here.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali, okay.
Laurent?
Yep.
Oh man, sorry guys. I had to explain this a few times over to the other group there. So I do apologize for that, but I am back now. So I'm here ready. Have you guys started researching somebody already?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have. Who are you guys doing?
We're done with Mahatma Gandhi, and Laurent is talking to me now about who did you mention, the boxer?
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. Oh wow, you guys are blessed. But if we can reshift focus a little bit and go, would you guys mind researching somebody named Walter Rodney?
Okay.
Walter Rodney. And then try to see a profile of him and see what kind of change maker he was. So whether working in the space, was he more of a social entrepreneur? Was he more of a change management? Was he change leadership? That kind of thing. I'm gonna be kind of part of your group here, but I'm gonna go create the other group first, and then I'll be right back.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I think it's Simon.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey, are we seeing Junior today?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
just in the washroom.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't know. Yeah, how long? Yeah.
One last question. That's all I need to know.
When he said, when we came back home, he's like, I really need to go to a washroom. And I was like, oh.
This is bad.
He just tell Ike that, like, I don't know how long I'm going to take, though, because I have to poo. And I was like, okay, it's okay. I told him,
I think he's just...
good time right now to poo?
Oh, God. I'm going to tell everyone you. Wow.
I think he just finished.
Anyways, yeah, we're just doing a quick breakout room activity here. I have other teams in groups of 3, so I think I'll just keep you guys as a group of 3 as well. You guys will have slightly less time to go through the exercise, but I think since you guys were there on Friday, it'll be a bit smoother for you guys there. So what we were trying to do today is just put everything together. So we talked about the a change leadership before. We talked about systems change before, and we were talking about social entrepreneurship just on Friday there. And in social entrepreneurship, there's different kind of leaders within that. So if you guys remember a slide when we were talking about what change leadership versus change management is. So change management are those set of tools that you can utilize in order to manage outcomes. Here's Junior right here. So I'm going to share my screen real quick just to give everybody a quick reminder. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were looking at first up here. This was the change leadership versus change management definition, and trying to see that there's different kinds of leadership out there. There's the kind that's very vocal, that'll inspire you with a word and make you change your opinion, your perspective, like on that profound level. And there's another kind of leader that works in a space where they're economic or where they're policy driven, that's making changes differently. So we were looking at the levels of where change happens. So policies, practices, resource flows, that'll be kind of the space of change management more. And at the deeper level, that's where change leaders tend to have that kind of deeper impact. So now in the spirit of trying to link everything together with social entrepreneurship, we want to try to see a profile of our leaders in our community, because typically Black people, and specifically Congolese, we're very strong on the change leadership kind of things. Like I can talk to you and I can make you believe something, but in terms of the practical steps or the doing things or putting things on the ground, systems on the ground, we're criticized as being a little bit weaker on that side of things. So if you look at even how independence played out in Congo, it was an independence where we could talk and we were able to get that independence. But once we got it, things started falling apart at the kind of management level. So our leaders like Lumumba were world famous, extremely popular, influential people, but didn't maybe have the chance to manage that change properly. But if you look at like a Mobutu, who tried to at one time be like a Lumumba, like try to inspire people, have all these kind of ideas, on the change leadership tip, he wasn't that strong. But change management kind of thing, the guy was able to stay in for 32 years, was able to at a time get the economy okay, military working okay, but he is more of an example on that change management kind of things. So now for this exercise here, if you guys are going to be looking at, there's only one left. It's an individual named Paul Panda. So just research him really quick and answer these questions here. What problem did they kind of try to solve? Looking at it with a social entrepreneurship lens, because we're looking at things on Friday. Social entrepreneurs look at problems within society, fill the gap within, like they try to bridge that gap. That's the role of a social entrepreneur. So looking at these historical individuals from the Black communities, can we see if there was an aspect of that entrepreneurial spirit, if any? So first try to look at what problem did they try to solve or address, and then look further, were they change leaders, social entrepreneurs, or both? So you have about like 15 minutes to sort through that there. Just discuss it amongst yourselves, and then I'm gonna just go into one other breakout room real quick. I'll come back and check in on you guys. But any questions? Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's and his name is Paul Panda.
Yeah.
Paul. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and then one of you will be asked to present it to the whole group when we end the breakout rooms.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, alrighty. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit here. I'll see.
Yep.
Who needs a hand? All right.
So, guys, I have my Google Docs open, so I can start typing.
Yeah, I see that police ban.
Hey, how's it going here?
Good.
You guys are doing good? You guys
Kind
are
of-
making it through?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We had 3 more people come, so I created another group there. They're just gonna be like, I'll give you guys all until like 7 to wrap it up, so that they have a chance to kind of look at things as well. But if you guys are good, got no questions, I'll leave you to it.
So how do you want us to share this? Like just kind of like talk, or?
You can talk. I can give you access to share your screen if you're taking notes and stuff, or if there's a website that has a lot of the information on it. However, yeah, if you want to talk, probably that's easiest, but if you have a little bit more, you can just share your screen.
Okay.
Alrighty. Benita, you good?
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, how you guys doing here?
Good.
Want to know.
Sorry?
We're trying to. How many minutes do we still left? I mean,
There's another 3 people who came, so I created another group for them. So I said until like 7, we're gonna be going about. Like, are you guys mostly done? Like, pretty much done already?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have the information.
So you guys had Fred Hampton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How deep did you guys go into that Black Panther story there,
Not that deep.
or like his organization?
Yeah, not that deep. We only like know that he brought together basically groups of like minorities because he had like a Puerto Rican organization and stuff like that, along with other groups together.
But how did he do it? Like what tool? Like, did he use
a public speaker.
He was a public speaker, yeah. But like, I want you guys to think about this. Like, if Fred Hampton was a builder and he built a house, you know, like we kind of know the house, kind of that, well, or like we kind of know like what he believed in. But how did he do it, or like what tools was he using to kind of bring that change about what made him influential, or like what made him rise up? Like, there's a lot there in like Fred Hampton's story, in terms of like where he started from, how old he even was.
Young, very young.
Very young. And did you guys discuss any of the issues, like what was their response to police brutality back then? Because that was a problem, and we still kind of have that problem now. But there was an issue around police brutality back then, and there was a very specific response to it, and a very specific community response. Those are the kind of things I'm challenging you guys to tease out a little bit. Does that make sense, Pam?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll come in and I'll check in on you guys in a little bit here.
Mm-mm.
Past and how it reflects them into the future.
Okay.
Hey guys.
Yep.
Hey, sorry. Another group needed to be formed. Three more people showed up. I'm glad they're here. But yeah, just change things a bit. But how are things going overall?
Well, we are researching about the guy you just gave us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I wanted us to bring up this guy because he's a Caribbean guy who had a big impact on things in Africa. You know, and usually calling out. Laurent, were you there in the very beginning when we were talking about there's like African Americans now who get upset that Africans portray them in like movies? Like there's a movie about the American Black Panthers, like the political party, not the comic book. And like there's like an African American guy, and they're getting upset about that. And then there's other movies, like there's a character, like we had Steve Biko is a person that other people are researching, but he was portrayed by Denzel Washington one time, and who's an American, and yet trying to portray an African there yet, and still in the midst of this like divide or this beef between the different kind of Black people. Here we see Walter Rodney, who's Caribbean, but still able to have a deep impact in Africa through his writing and stuff.
Yeah. Walter was born in America, but he was really focused on his African studies. like he really cared about his history, and that's why he teaches black students what they're not listening, well, not listening, but what they're not seeing, because they think they were born in America, but originally you're from Africa. So that's what Walter was trying to teach them. And yeah.
Yeah. So what problem did he see?
Uh,
What problem did he see in society that he said, you know what? And why was he killed even? We try to think about it. Was it education?
yeah.
Or Papa Lavie, according to your research, what are you seeing here?
I have not yet gone far. Laura is the one reading and I'm just typing. Okay.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah.
So I saw like information about his assassination. They say he died in a car explosion a month after returning from celebrations during the independence in Zimbabwe, during like an intense political activism. And they say that he said that like a soldier gave him a bomb, and yeah, they said like they set him up or something.
Yeah. So for me here, according to what I can see here from my research here, he was killed because of that. They gave him a bomb, but what made him dangerous was that through his teaching, he was able to empower the underrepresented classes. So he gave the underrepresented classes tools to challenge the a new kind of political elites who were coming in and being kind of like colonial again. So he was able through his teaching. So he noticed that there was a gap in kind of um, 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 like how people were enfranchised politically, and that power was shifting too much to the elite in certain countries. And it was the same in the Caribbean and in Africa, that in the 70s, after the independence movements in the 70s, the corruption started to become a lot, nepotism, tribalism, a lot of these things started to become are really prevalent within our like political systems. And then he wanted to change this, and he empowered people by teaching them about themselves, giving them value, teaching them about politics, and fusing that history with political knowledge. He was able to have like that Black consciousness movement, and that Black consciousness movement was able to challenge um, the dictators of the time. He was able to give them, you know, words to explain kind of the trouble that they're facing. So if you just say my children aren't eating, that's one thing. But you say my children aren't eating because you take all the taxes for this and you put it over there instead of putting it properly. That's the kind of enfranchisement he was giving. So for you, Lohan, does he sound like a social entrepreneur or like a change leader or both?
He's both.
Yeah, he sounds like both to me too. Lavi?
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm gonna do here, I think. Oh, I'm already over. We're 3 minutes over. I'm gonna close the breakout rooms. Who would want to share?
Laurent will share.
Laurent. Okay, Laurent, perfect. All right, maybe I'll give another 2-3 minutes
Yes, please.
until 05 to just write everything down, and then I'll end up closing all the breakout rooms afterwards. Okay, see you in a bit.
Okay.
Hey, how are you guys doing here?
We're
Good.
good. We're basically done, I think.
You're pretty much done. Okay, what were you guys able to see about the problem that Paul Panda saw in society that he was trying to address?
Well, he realized like the horrible conditions that the Congolese people were living in and this political like the way that they were treated. And so he kind of advocated for Congolese people to have more political rights, and he also was advocating for them to get also an education, because a lot of them were enslaved at that time and they weren't really educated and they were just stuck in labor and working really hard. And yeah, so he was an intellect and he was able to use his knowledge to like fight for, speak up about what's going on and advocate for Congolese people to have more rights.
And perfect. And in terms of the social entrepreneurial space, could you say he was a social entrepreneur or just a change leader or a both? Were you able to see some of the like what his style was kind of bringing about this change, or trying to bring about the change that he ended up bringing about?
There's not a lot, but I would say he's both.
Yeah, but he's more of like a change leader, but he was also had social, like he had a social entrepreneur mindset. Like he was also trying to do things and for his people and stuff.
Did you like read the stuff about the conferences he was hosting in Europe?
Oh yeah.
For the Black or the Congolese community that was already in Europe at that time? Did you hear about the Pan-Africanist conferences that he was attending? Did you hear about the education system, the schools that the way in which he was setting up schools and stuff in his region to educate the population there? And you guys know, because of him, there was like no education allowed. He's almost like an anti-hero in the sense that he tried really hard to do something, but the opposite of what he tried to do like is what ended up happening until like a generation afterwards, because he was successful in putting schools there at first and teaching the natives at first, but that was all taken away from him. He was successful in advocating for workers' rights and everything like that. That was taken away from him. He was so successful in like just like how you said, like the rights of the Congolese people being hacked up and stuff. He was a major player in reaching out to the media, reaching out to other Black missionaries and Black organizations to help put Congo on the forefront. He even tried to make Congo, like he talked about like the civilizations on the Congo River, just like the civilizations on the Nile River or on the Indus Delta or like those kinds of things. So yeah, and anyways, maybe you guys didn't have enough time to see all that because it's like you gotta maybe see in French or like was it all there?
No, it was just Wikipedia didn't have all of that. You actually covered. We didn't read all of that. We just read like a little bits of. Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, you gotta dig deep a little bit. Like there's a documentary about him in French. There, if you go to the Wikipedia page in French, it's a little bit deeper. But yeah, it's really answering that question about in our community, are we mostly in the change leadership side, or do we give ourselves only credit for one kind of leadership, and then how do we talk about the other side of things? Like actually kind of like, like I was telling like the other groups, like if you look at what a change leader accomplishes, it's like a builder who's built a house, but looking like how did this guy build the house? Like the hammer, like nails, like what were his steps? Like breaking it down a little bit further to that level there. But you guys sound like you guys got it anyways. I'm not gonna harp on that point. I think you guys will be good. I think I'm okay to close the breakout rooms, and then we'll just let everybody talk, and we'll be able to continue.
Okay, sounds
Sorry,
good.
I just rambled a whole lot to you guys.
Oh, that was helpful. That was really
that was good. That was good.
No, share your knowledge. We appreciate it.
All right. Okay. All right. Everybody should be back in like a minute here, so we'll be all right.
Vincent, you're good to present?
Hmm?
You're good to present?
I thought you were present.
All right. 10 more seconds until I'm. All right. Are we all back? Yeah, we are all back. Okay. I hope you guys got past the awkwardness of being thrown in a breakout room. Sometimes you're like, how do I start talking to this person here? But hopefully we all got past that, was able to have some decent conversations here. So let's just call out the actual individuals, and then the person from the group will be able to talk about them. So we'll start with Walter Rodney. Who had Walter Rodney?
I did.
All right, go ahead, Laurent. Is it helpful if I pull like a picture of each person that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everybody see that? Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen. Okay. All right, let's go. All right, go ahead, Lohan. I just have him in the background so people can see him.
All right. Okay. So Walter Anthony Rodney was a prominent Guyanese historian, political activist, and academic. Um, he was assassinated in 1980, and for what he's known, he was a scholar and a historian. He he was born in America, but he had so much focus to Africa, which is like his originality. He was very focused on their history, and he published books about it, teaching other Black scholars what really happened in their what happened with their ancestry. And the problem is that he saw the imbalance between local and foreign elites, and started to and he started like messing up. So he started to empower, and he started to like teach Black scholars what was right, what was wrong. And then people some people were like looking at him weird, like, what is this guy doing? What is he teaching these kids? And he was teaching what was like he was teaching like the classism is basically the classism. What was the highest hierarchy? What was the highest? What was the top tier um system or person? You know what I mean? The high the top tier person, and he was teaching Black scholars like, oh, this person is wrong. They did this, they did that. What we did was this, and they saw it, and they looked at Rodney as a threat, so they assassinated him with a bomb. And he was both a social entrepreneur and a change leader. And yeah.
All right, good job, Laurent. Everybody clap it up for Laurent. Excellent. So yeah, Felicia, I didn't hear you go brap, brap, brap for your Caribbean brethren here. Are you there, Felicia? Anyways, so yeah, Walter Rodney, really famous dude. Just like Laurent said, a guy who was born in the Caribbean, but had a deep impact in Africa. He was there at like, oh, Felicia wasn't here. Never mind. He was there at like the independence of Zimbabwe and stuff. So he came around in a period like after initial independence and after like some of the governments already started to turn a little bit corrupt. So in the late 70s, early 80s, here's a guy from the Caribbean. He even called out Mobutu. He knew that Mobutu was like he had a policy of favoring Black-owned businesses at the time. It wasn't really famous because it wasn't that popular at the time because it was seen that Mobutu was favoring his own tribe more than actually favoring Black people. And one of the people who was able to call them out was some guy from the Caribbean named Walter Rodney. And the problem he saw was, he was a Pan-Africanist. So he saw the disconnect between Black people in Africa, Black people in the Caribbean, Black people in America, thought that we should be one. And then he saw a big disconnect in the knowledge we had of ourselves. So he dedicated himself to becoming a scholar. And through his youth movements, he was able to disseminate information. And so Laurent's right, he's definitely both a change leader and a social entrepreneur. Social entrepreneur through the youth-led student movements that he had. We'll go to Steve Biko next. Who had Steve Biko? Hello.
It was my group with Riza and Benito. My Wi-Fi, like I said, my Wi-Fi is not working and it keeps cutting me out because it's twinning from my phone data. So I'll try, but it's just acting up and it's.
Okay, I see. Were you the one responsible for sharing, or is it Raisa?
I don't think we decided, so I don't know.
Okay, you guys want to decide now? Who wants to go? Do you guys all want to go? You guys each say some. That works too.
Yeah, maybe we should take turns.
Okay.
Works.
All right, Felicia start, then Raisa, then Benita.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so Stephen Biko was a. Find that information. 1 second. Okay, he was from South Africa. He's a South African activist, and he died at the age of 30. He was in police custody and they beat him to death, which is really hard for me to hear. But he wanted to have a movement in which he was sorry, I'm losing my track of. A movement in which he was trying to bring people to realize that they were Black and they could be better than like the what's the word, like the oppression that they were under, I guess. So he started like a Black consciousness movement in South Africa, in which he was trying to help people realize that that being Black isn't like a bad thing, I guess. It said the movement spread from university campuses into urban Black communities throughout South Africa. He was one of the founders of the Black People's Convention. Amaya, sorry guys, turn that off, please.
Say hi to Amaya.
Yeah,
nice.
Our Wi-Fi is not working, so she's like trying to do whatever she can to entertain herself. So we decided that he was
a change leader.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we decided that he was a change leader because he was trying to bring in peace within the black community. So Stephen was a anti-apartheid activist in South Africa in the 1960s and 70s. He was a student leader. He later founded the Black Consciousness Movement, which would empower and mobilize much of the urban Black population. And he especially tried to bring in the youth. His idea his idea was that this would in turn stimulate a revolution of the mind by allowing oppressed people to overcome the racial inferiority and fear propagated by white racism so they could appreciate that they were not just appendages to the white society.
Perfect. Benita?
Um, well, he became a national union of African students. Um, he was involved in the multiracial national. Um, and he participated in the White South African Society. Um, and he ended up becoming the first president in the following year of SASO, which was to encourage Blacks to recognize their inheritance and their self-worth. So, and that was in 1970s.
Perfect. You guys clap it up for these guys. They did a good job. Everybody send a reaction and applause, something. Good job, guys. Honestly, that was really thorough. But I have a question to ask because you guys changed that he was a change leader and not a social entrepreneur. But I'm wondering because I know, or you guys talked about him, or maybe we can say, because Steve Biko, for those of you guys who watch like that movie like Sarafina, or the movie where you see like the South African youth like marching and going against like the soldiers and stuff, this stuff happened around Steve Biko's time or Steve Biko's era. So it's again an era where the leaders like Nelson Mandela and them were in jail. They were in jail, and there was a gap in society for just leadership and representation. Raisa, yes?
Hello? Yeah, so I want to say, sorry
No,
for picking up, but I just
no.
learned the meaning of social entrepreneurship, and I kind of want to mention that I think he was both
Hmm.
because he recognized a social problem that needed change, and he used his principles to manage and come up with a solution to make social change.
Perfect. Perfect. So this guy was a lawyer and he had student organizations. He developed student organizations. They were structured. They knew, but they had a common goal. It wasn't just random stuff. They would go campus to campus, set up the organization there properly. And this is how they were able to have the change of taking on the soldiers, because it was big police brutality at the time. They were killing kids, beating people. However, and through his organizations, they were able to have a response against this police brutality, against this lack of representation, lack of upward mobility in a time when Mandela was in jail. So perfect. Yeah, good. Anything else to add? Anybody have questions? No? Okay. Let's go to Paul Panda next.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so Paul Panda. He was a Congolese agronomist and expatriatus. Lived in Belgium, outside of his native country. He lived in Europe in the first decade of the 1900s. An agronomist is an expert in the science of soil management and crop production. What problems did they solve? He has been considered to be the first Congolese intellectual. He founded an association known as the Union Congolais to advocate for the interests of other Congolese veterans of the war. Paul participated in the First and Second Pan-African Congress in 1919 and 1921. He also attended the First National Belgian Colonial Congress in 1920. He actively criticized Belgian colonial practices, arguing that the ban on forced labor in the Congo was not being consistently applied, and education for the native population was inadequate. He also called for the Congolese to be granted the political rights. Was he a change leader or social entrepreneur or both? Paul Panda was a bit of both. He was an advocate for the rights of Congolese. He put schools in place in order to see success through his work, even when everything was against him. He organized political Congress groups and was successful for advocating for workers' rights. Yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Yeah, Paul Panda that was so good. And I agree. He was absolutely both. You guys see a trend here with, are these guys one or both? It's sometimes it's that thing that I was coming into you guys' group to I really try to emphasize that, because in Black History Month, you'll oftentimes hear the stories of the people who what's it called? Spoke out against something, but we don't hear like much of like the tools or like how they went around making changes. Because this guy like Paul Panda was able to be educated in like Belgium, and the kind of influence he had in Congo was really significant. This was happening in like the 1920s, so like the height of colonialism, where no Congolese was receiving any kind of education. Somebody from outside of Congo was able to have an influence there. Like one of the things he was able to do, like, do you guys know, have you guys heard of like Simon Kimbangu, the prophet Simon Kimbangu from like Congo? Anybody heard of him? Maybe you guys are too young, but there was a famous prophet from like Congo back then who was like sentenced to death. Like this guy was able to write letters to the king and stuff to make sure these people weren't going to like the colonial authorities weren't gonna kill him. Like the bravery he had to set up the institutions and organizations in order to fight the system in that era is really, 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 really impressive. So that's good there. Next up, we got Fred Hampton.
Okay, so that was us. Basically, we found out that he started off as a deputy chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and then he went on to be an active leader in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. He then basically his works was bringing groups together to bring systematic social change, and he did that by organizing free breakfasts. And that was also because his coalition included the Lincoln Park's Poor People Coalition. So he organized free breakfasts, rallies, peaceful negotiations. He spoke to the people and also appeared on television. He wanted change, but he started by like wanting Black people to stop killing each other, so that change was happening within the Black community itself. That's what he was working towards. And then he died at 21 years old, so he did all of that before he turned 21. He died at 21, and William O'Neill, who was apparently his bodyguard, who was able to get into the Black Panther Party, was actually an FBI agent, and he basically gave the Chicago police info to raid and kill him kill Fred in his sleep. And we said that he was a social entrepreneur, because basically he was doing his work through creating groups and creating alliances and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yes. Fred Hampton, definitely a social entrepreneur, a young guy who was able to rise up He's one of the examples. He didn't like necessarily start brand new like organizations. He like included other people within them to come to like a common goal, like other races, even like white people who like didn't like other white people, like could come into his grouping there. And through his connections in like national Black organizations in the United States, um, he was able to bring to light the issue of police brutality in those communities back then, because there was a lot of issues like the poverty, and they were doing like the free meals and stuff, but also they had like an active gang war against like the police. Like if the police were coming in these communities, they were well organized to defend themselves. They're saying, we're not going to take this stuff anymore. He's one of the change leaders again who arose in the time after Malcolm X and Martin Luther King had already died. So for him, they were waiting on the promises of like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. And then people weren't really seeing it. People were still saying, okay, the police is still there attacking us. We're not really moving ahead. Like, what do we do now? And his response was like community organization. And he was a young person and able to be like historically like remembered for it. Like there's a movie about his life like coming out like I don't know if it's this month or like next month, but yeah, it's gonna talk about how he was betrayed and everything like that. So good. We got through that discussion point. I have a few more slides to get through. Then we're gonna watch a quick video before getting to a few more discussions at the end. We're gonna watch the video afterwards. Okay, can you guys see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So right now we're gonna bring it back home now. So you heard about individuals who can start organizations abroad and the kind of projects that they're doing. We're gonna have a quick, maybe I'll try to do this as quick as I can, but just to give you guys a sense of how we can use certain tools. So as change leaders, we can all be leaders, but what tools can we use to actually bring about change in our communities? One of the tools that we can use in our toolkit is something called a social enterprise. So you can be a social entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you have an enterprise, like a company, a business, or something you're using to kind of as your vehicle to put that change in community proper. So we saw examples of how that used to happen in the past, but it's not that easy at all to have a social enterprise of your own here in Alberta. In Alberta, they're saying that the not-for-profit space and the social enterprise space is going to be one of the next growing like kind of fields there. So they're looking for ways to diversify Alberta's economy. We can't just stick with oil and gas. So we're looking into the innovative spaces of like social enterprises. And we're gonna just go through a quick exercise here to show you how simple it can really be to set up an organization of yourself. So you can be someone who says, oh, I have my own organization. I am working towards something. The goal can be a social problem, as we see like a gap in society, but we're going to see later on that a social enterprise can take on a lot of different kinds of colors there. So the first thing you I need to know here is when you register yourself, you are registering a corporation, and all that means is that your corporation or your organization is a third party, is almost like an individual unto itself. That individual can buy, sell, own assets, enter into contracts, can sue, and be sued. So it's a person in and of itself that's going to be recognized and registered by the government. So there's private and public not for profits there. For the private one, you need 2 people. For the public one, it used to be 5, but I'm hearing here that it's up to 3 people who sign on to the documents and you agree to run the organization. So you can't like essentially do it by by yourself there. The cost is only $75. That's it. It costs $75. But the problem is, to register yourself, you have to go through the registry in Edmonton. You can't go through any other registry that you have within the city. It has to be the registry in Edmonton. So the first thing that you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to pick a name, and your name has to be a name that's not registered anywhere else. And there's something called a Nuns Report, or NUANS. It's a report. This one you can get from most any registry, or you can get them online as well. It's just a check that you do online to make sure your name isn't registered anywhere where else. I think you pay $30 for this. They send you like an email that certifies that your name isn't used, or somebody isn't using a name similar to it, and you're going to include this in the package that you send to the government. One second. I need some water. Legal name, legal stuff, we're not going to do that here. So the nuns service providers, you can find the link right there. There's some online ones, there's some in-person ones. You just kind of go there, and they'll just print out the form for you. Once you have that, you'll need your memorandum of association. This is just kind of a page where you have the signatures of everyone there, where you're going to describe the objectives of your group, like what you're trying to accomplish, what your goal is. It can be a sports group, it can be a music group, it can be a mentorship, it can be anything. As long as you three agree to work together towards that goal, you'll have a provision to state what your objectives are, and all you guys kind of sign it there. After that, it's articles of association. They used to be called articles of incorporation, and all this really means is it goes through your legal kind of documents there. So you're gonna have to have your fiscal year. So organizations have an end and year, and organizations have their own kind of financial cycle. So typically when you register your organization, that's the beginning of the year for you. It's not like January 1st. It can be November 1st, July 12th, whatever it is that your organization starts. That's the kind of year where that's your anniversary, where you have to submit your annual report to the government. And the other are articles of incorporation are certain rules, like if you guys are going to have shareholders, certain rules like what quorum is in certain meetings. So let's say you guys have 10 individuals signing on to start this organization. You can say something like, if there's 6 people at the meeting, that represents quorum, or that represents like enough people in the kind of meeting to end up making decisions there. It also will have guidelines about like how to access the bank account, certain things like that. The government does have a standard draft of kind of articles of incorporation that usually everyone kind of uses. It doesn't change too much between sides, but it's all kind of there for you. And then, yeah, company's address, elect your board of directors, and then you pretty much submit this. It takes about 1 month, but once that is completed, you have an organization like SOS Congo, like where we are registered through this manner here. It's through the Societies Act of the Government of Alberta, and that grants us access to do certain things. So this first step, really, it'll be like under $150 really to kind of start this. And if you have your friends and or people interested in this involved, you have a legal company which you can start doing business with. So with this, you'll have access to articles of incorporation, and with those you can open a business bank account, or a bank account that's not just for consumer products and stuff. So that's one of the number one big benefits of looking to start your own social enterprise there. The second one is having access to certain funding sources. So back to the PowerPoint here. So you can actually find ways to fund certain projects, or if you see certain gaps in the community there are resources available that you can access almost right away to start funding your kind of projects there. So the first place to kind of go is the Calgary Foundation. If you're doing things in Calgary, you can get a grant for under $1,000 with them, with just your registration through the government of Alberta. You can get the small grants from the Calgary Foundation there. Other places you can get grants will be like the government. Typically, it's only the government that's gonna give you big-ish grants for this level of registration. So you can get the city of Calgary does project requests all the time. So if you have a community-based project that is in line with what they're looking to do, they can support you. The government of Alberta has specific community grants. They have a grants page that has a long list of these kind of grants there available. Also, the United Way and the Red Cross and the Canadian government, or like the federal government, also does. If you choose to register your organization, and then you add to it the Canada revenue designation. So so you'll see I have two tabs here. Once you have your designation from Canada revenue, that means that you can start taking donations from private funders and private companies, and they have a lot of money sometimes, like maybe I was thinking Air Canada, but I feel like the airlines are in a lot of trouble right now. But think of any big company, oil companies, telecommunications company, any big company is gonna have funding that they have available to community-based organizations. But these funders typically can only fund you if they get a tax receipt back. So you have to have first your designation with your home province, and then the designation with the Canada revenue to be able to give tax receipts. And once you give tax receipts, there's a lot of opportunities that open up that way from private funders. And also the Calgary Foundation has a lot of funding if you have your CRA designation. Now, how is this relevant? Does this even matter? So let's take a look at a couple articles here that talk about funding for just, what is it doing? Funding for just Black organizations within Canada. So this was a study that was done and put in like a newspaper report that was done in December of last year. It says here that out of all the funding that goes to community groups out there, Black Canadian organizations only get 7 cents out of $100. So you see here, I can send this article out to you guys later, but 7 cents to every charity. So this is a huge source of like so much resources there that we're barely tapping into. This documentary just because earlier on in the year, Justin Trudeau announced funding specifically for Black entrepreneurs. I think it was $300 million funding just for Black entrepreneurs. So this is part of the reason why we're trying to do this training here, so people know how to set themselves up to access this, because Indians, Chinese, all these other groups know how to register and how to put themselves in the line or in the queue to be able to get this kind of funding here. So you guys can read through that later on your own. The other thing I wanted to show you guys here is how like funding for Black Canadian things is like really in the news a lot. Like SOS Congo. So this article talks about funding that the federal government rolled out just for Black Canadians last year. And a lot of organizations who went and applied for this grant were rejected. So it's good news that the federal government is putting funding out there for our communities. But the way that they're managing it, this article is just kind of talking about that. It's relevant because SOS Congo went for this grant as well. And this grant was supposed to be part of the grant that kept us going until like September, but they told us to kind of hold. And it's showing you here that there's a lot of discussion in this space, a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people wondering what's kind of happening. So you guys will also get this article later. I think these ones are talking about Black organizations that applied, and they were told that they weren't Black enough to access this kind of funding here. All right. Sorry?
Sorry, I said what? And my mic was on.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good. So that is that there. We're gonna watch about 10 minutes of a video here about a guy who talks about different types of social enterprises and how big and how diverse they can kind of get. Let me get to that slide here quickly. And then we'll probably finish around 8:15ish today, guys. But I'm really hoping to have a discussion after we watch this video here. If you guys are able to bear with me. Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. We live in an era where problems seem to be insatiable and unsolvable. And I think I know why. Let's take, for example, incarceration right here in our home province of Manitoba. The Auditor General put out a report a few years ago warning governments that if they weren't to back off this significant increases in incarceration, it would cost $1.5 billion of your taxpayer money. And by the way, most of the people that are locked up are Indigenous in this province. And it's not hard to see how those numbers come by when it's $220,000 per jail cell and $100,000 a year to put somebody into that cell. Also, the same problems we have with healthcare. 75% of our healthcare expenditures are now on diseases where diet is a main risk factor, yet governments seem to be doing nothing to help us change our diets. The Bank of Canada has warned governments that if things continue on the path that they are, that 80% of our provincial spending will be on healthcare within the next decade, leaving only 20% for all the other things that are very important. And child welfare. Manitoba has more Indigenous children in care than there ever were in residential schools. It costs $1.8 million per child to have them raised in the system from baby to age 18. Now, could it be that governments are obsessed with problems and maybe they're even addicted? And could it be that the problems aren't the problem? Maybe the issue is that we need to be focusing on problem solvers. My theory in Army of Problem Solvers is that indeed you need a problem solver to solve a problem. This is not something that governments have got their heads around yet, but we believe we're pushing in this direction. Now, who are the problem solvers? Well, in my book, I break them out into 3 different groups. There's the social entrepreneurs, and we all know Elon Musk. It is a for-profit venture, Tesla, and his goal is to electrify the transportation sector. Social entrepreneurs are a good example of problem solvers. The small farms and local food movement is growing very quickly. These are folks that are selling directly to us as consumers without the salt and sugar that is causing our healthcare spending issues. They also use very little phosphorus and fossil fuels in their whole production process, which makes our lakes cleaner and repopulates our rural areas. And we have social enterprises as well, which are like the other two, but they're nonprofit, and we as nonprofits are using the market in order to achieve our mandates. Now here's a continuum of all the different ventures that are there, ranging from a charity like a food bank, for example, all the way to strictly profit-seeking companies. And social enterprises, we're nonprofit, so we take the community-orientedness and we combine it with the market tools that are available from the private sector in order for us to reach scale. Let me give you an example. This is a staff photo from right here in Winnipeg, Winnipeg's north end of Build. Build is now 11 years old and is accomplishing what is Canada's defining issue, and that is connecting people who most need the work with the work that most needs to be done. Now, Build has hired over 600 people in its 11 years, and we've lowered utility bills at 16,000 low-income households for savings to government of about $8 to $9 million a year just in utility bill costs. That's pretty exciting. We have other social enterprises here in Winnipeg, like Manitoba Green Retrofit. Similar kind of staff photo with people who are previously involved in gangs, for example, and were hired because they didn't have work experience, because they had a criminal record, because they didn't have grade 12 or a driver's license. One of the things that Manitoba Green Retrofit does is bed bug remediation. Imagine this new paradigm. We love bed bugs at social enterprises. Why? Because we can hire people to remediate the bed bugs. And this is what's exciting as we move from the problem-making paradigm into a problem-solving paradigm. Now, what does the future look like? Well, I just researching a new book, and I just got back from Scotland. They have 5,600 social enterprises there, here in the homeland of bagpipes and haggis. They're leading the world in social enterprise development and establishing one new social enterprise every day. So many social enterprises there that it amounts to about one for every 1,000 people in their population. Now, what are these social enterprises doing? What are they accomplishing? Well, 50% of them hire people with barriers to employment. Now, doesn't it make sense to you that if we're tired of paying for jails, we're tired of the inhumanity of locking people up who really need a job, doesn't it make more sense to engage social enterprises? Yes, we're tired of that. Now, 2/3 of these social enterprises in Scotland are run by women. You know, how many of Canada's top 100 companies are run by women? 2. Doesn't it make more sense if we're interested in gender equality and to be making more compassionate decisions that we have more social enterprises? Of course it does. And interestingly, the average wage differential in social enterprises in Scotland is 2.5 to 1. That means that their CEOs make only 2.5 times the average worker. In Canada's top 100 companies, the average CEO makes as much as the average employee by lunchtime on the first day. If we're interested in addressing income inequality in this country, it makes sense to be engaging social enterprises. This is a coworker of mine from the Peguis First Nation, and he and I both work at Aki Energy. Aki is an Ojibwe word for earth, so we're doing installing geothermal. And Trevor, along with many of his coworkers, have installed now $8 million worth of geothermal on First Nations here in Manitoba with no government funding. How do we do that? Now, here's when the paradigm gets interesting. Remember, I talked about using money that's being spent on poverty in a different way. Well, Manitoba Hydro, our local utility here, provides the $20,000 up front. The First Nation installs the geothermal, and the bills go from this to this. And there's enough room in those bill reductions that Manitoba Hydro puts a financing fee there, which they can
I'm gonna stop sharing there. You guys still with me?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't see, and I see like only Lavi. Can somebody like turn their video on so that I just don't feel like I'm talking to blank spaces?
That was interesting.
Sorry?
I said that was very interesting to hear.
Who's talking? Oh, Raisa. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why are you stopping it? I want to watch the rest.
Oh, you guys want to watch the rest?
Stop.
Well, maybe just send it and I could watch. I would
No.
like to watch the rest. It doesn't have to be here, but maybe just send it or something so I could see it.
No, sorry guys. I didn't want to go too much longer. I wanted to have a bit of a discussion here, see what you guys are thinking. This man here, he's a really interesting guy. Like I met him at a conference maybe like 3 years ago, and what he was talking about, I don't know, he doesn't talk about it in this particular TED Talk here, so I kind of stopped it so I could just kind of share with you. But what he was talking about, he came through, and in Winnipeg, what they started doing for single fathers, I think, was they got a contract from the government. They started a company that was paying people, and all they were doing is like swapping out toilets in like government housing. And I'm like, how were you able to like get this? Like they were able to set up companies and stuff like and this is just like one of their like examples. He has a ton and a ton of examples of these kind of social enterprises that are able to do social good. If you have a social kind of good associated to the project that you're working on, you're able to also get contracts and be able to get not just, because he talks about an enterprise in the sense that you're operating in the market space. You're not always just looking for a government funding to kind of operate, but if you're, it's like a new way to see yourself as an entrepreneur, to have that social good piece there in place and to still be able to connect with those market pieces. So yeah, that's where I wanted to end my kind of sharing, but I wanted to just do a kind of round at the end here to see what people's thoughts were about us moving forward. And even the people who were there on Friday, we were talking about if our community was to like have our own kind of like community center, what kind of things we would put in it, what kind of things that we would do. I was a little bit disappointed at the end of the session that like Alyssa was the only one writing stuff, like the white lady was the only one writing things in that paper. I kind of felt like, you know, Congolese, like, man, I wish, like, we were good at talking, but we also got to put like our like pen to paper there, sometimes move forward. So if you have thoughts around what we ended with on Friday in terms of a project to get a community space or community center, how things connect with this, looking to hear from you. So it doesn't have to specifically relate to the video or specifically relate to change leadership, but somehow connected would be good. We're gonna start here with Pamela, since you called me out for PowerPoint slides. Pam, are you there?
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. 1 second. Yeah, I just want to do like a round. Now that we landed on social enterprises, we've talked about change leadership, we talked about all sorts of things. I just want to hear what your kind of thoughts are at this point here in terms of like the video can be related to the video directly, this session directly, or the stuff we talked about last night.
Well, what I got from it was that you need to really utilize your talents and what you're good at, that not everybody who has ideas can also manage those ideas. So it's like you're getting different people to do the things that they know how to do. Like the person who has the idea isn't necessarily the person who executes it too. That's what I got from it.
Okay, good point. So like kind of in the space of change leadership versus change management, sometimes the people who put it out there aren't the ones like executing it. It's like a different animal kind of deal. Is that what you say? I
Yeah.
got you. All right, good stuff.
Mhm.
Good takeaway. Junior?
The things that stood out for me the most was the when he was speaking about the pay gap and the gender inequality, and like also about the Aboriginal people, like as well as like the skin color inequality.
Yeah. Could you see yourself opening up like an enterprise? Like, do you see yourself as being an entrepreneur, or have you ever thought of yourself as being an entrepreneur in that space there?
Actually, yeah, that seems very interesting to me, and I do actually see myself opening something up, especially like um regarding like the black community here, or also back home, like back in Congo.
Good stuff. We'll go Laurent.
What was interesting? Yeah, what Junior said, that the equality and thinking of myself being as an entrepreneur would really motivate me a lot, because I would really want to help people get back on their feet and and show show our culture throughout the world, because they're like we just don't we show it, but it's like we keep it like in the dark just for some events. But I want to make that like alive, and just hope for the best that it could be, you know, popping a lot.
I hear you. All right, we'll go to Lavi.
Thanks a lot. It is interesting. The guy pointed something out. He says that the government is drowning in problems, social problems mostly, and this needs the social entrepreneur, needs problem solvers to solve those problems, and problem solvers are the social entrepreneurs. It is amazing. Often when countries go through situations, they will mostly call upon social entrepreneurs to come and help them so on, clean up the mess. And when you look around us, there are so many gaps between people and services that we receive and so on. So it is really needed. One of the things that stood out when I landed in Canada is to see how many social enterprises we have. And they're hiring so many people without so much conditions. You don't have to always have the right qualification, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot everyone can offer to enhance living in the community and so on. So just a call also upon everyone, feel free. This is an open-ended industry. Come in with your skills. You can start your own, or there are other organizations that already exist. You can also not team up with them, bring your skills on the board. When you go online looking for jobs, there's a bunch of opportunities in that industry. But also from our discussion last week, I realized that the young people have so many inspirations. They can really start something from scratch and make a great difference. So be who you are and understand that you have a lot to give to the community. Thanks a lot also for taking us through the process, how to register your own organization and what it takes. I wanted to ask a question. How long does the registration process takes? And also based on the needs or the gap that the organization is willing to address, is there possibility one can start the organization and start operating without, as they wait for their registration?
Yeah, you can definitely start operating without the registration still. It'll be hard without the bank account if you need or if you have interactions or transactions, sorry, to make. But you are able to start as just a group of citizens or group of individuals. Once you register, it takes about a month for everything to be completed. If they have a delay, they'll let you know. Sometimes they'll say 1 to 3 months, but typically they can get you in around a month.
My best paying job so far is in this industry. I'm a high school teacher, but I don't think about it anymore. I don't think I will go back there. I'm okay being here, working for the communities, and I'm not rich, but I'm enjoying what I'm getting from it.
Makes sense. Good stuff. All right, let's go Jamima next.
So basically, I was also going to touch on a point that Levy made about how he mentioned that the government is drowning in problems. That kind of just made me think about how African countries and stuff like that are seeking for help and getting help from the wrong people, basically. So what I mean by that is kind of like when like those mission groups, you know, like full of just white people that just go to like an African country and like teach them English. Meanwhile, like half of them already know English, you know? It's kind of like you guys are the source of the problem. We don't need your help. And that made me relate it to Fred Hampton's work on how his idea of bringing systematic social change was within his own group, his own community, right? So he wanted Black people to stop killing Black people. He wanted, you know, Black on Black crime to stop in order to bring further change in, you know, the whole United States, I guess. So that so the video kind of made me relate to that a little bit, how people are seeking help and getting help from the wrong people. So like the government isn't really going to do much for, you know, just the general population, and you have to work within your own community to bring change first.
Wow. You put systemic social change in your answer and you weaved it all together. If we could do snaps or I don't know what, that was a really good answer. Way to really tie it all together. That was awesome. Good job. Let's go Laurent.
Repeat the question, Knight.
Just kind of like what stood out to you from the video and this kind of session. You can tie it all together, like how Jamima did, or you can just kind of highlight things that stood out to you, like learning about social enterprises, learning about change leadership, learning about all this kind of stuff here.
So what really surprised me is the social entrepreneurship, the interchange leader ideology. That like as an individual, you both you work like you work on specific things, and you didn't know that thing can affect other people while you're doing your work, and other people will follow you for work, and that really like and learning like what Walter did, what he worked on his history. We worked on African history and how people followed him, his ideology, and he knows about it, but he didn't really focus on it, and he was very like motivated about it, and I was like motivated by that too, because I want to work on something, and people can notice my work, and that's how it surprised me and motivated me a lot.
Okay, I hear you. Good stuff. No, like me too. Like just it's good like hearing, yeah, like how I don't know, it makes these people more human for me. Like when I hear these kind of things and you hear, okay, this person did this, Walter Rodney was there. But yeah, when you hear about the social enterprise and how and all those kind of stuff, it adds like a step by step kind of makes it more clear. Good stuff. We'll go Jolie.
Yeah. So for me, like one thing that stood out to me was when he said that the problem isn't the problem, and the problem is that government prevents problem solvers from doing their job. Um, and so we can be problem solvers in our communities as well by fixing, like just doing small changes and looking at what needs to be fixed and solving the problem. And I think the best way to do it is from social entrepreneurship, because you do get a lot of support from not just the community, but the government as well. And I think that's like the best way to potentially address your goal or what you're trying to do with your organization that you're going to create. So I think that just makes me kind of see the importance of like also nonprofit organizations as well, and how they can be successful in the long run. And a lot of people do find that nonprofits don't really pay that well or lead to anything. But at the end of the day, it's not just making a change for the community, but it's making a change for the people that are struggling in the community. So it's giving out jobs as well, not just a job to get by.
No, honestly, the not-for-profit jobs aren't that bad. And the thing about it is like when you're entering into like the professional working space, it's a great way to get that experience like right away and leverage that for like other things moving forward. So it's a great starting point for your professional career or for just businesses that you're looking to like put out there. And I think the fact that our community, like you're right, we don't have a lot of these social enterprises and stuff, it ends up like holding us back. Like that creativity that we should be putting into that space there and try to push things forward. No, absolutely. I hear you there. We'll go Vince.
So I feel like the videos and like the things we've learned in this program so far, like the things just they're gonna help people become entrepreneurs. Like, you know, in the Black community, we need more of that, because when you look at people like from a young age, like you can see that like no offense or anything, but like Black people usually don't have the motivation to start businesses and that. Like, and even if they do, it's really unprofessional, and like there's better ways to approach it, right? And like when you look at other communities, like they have people to ask, and they already have like people in the community to ask and to teach them how to run a business and how to start it. That's why you see a lot of Nigerian African stores, and you know, you don't see too many Congolese African stores, you know, because it's just starting it off is really hard and stuff. So these programs, like people need to really tap in and really get connected and, you know, more like informed about everything, because it's actually like eye-opening because how many opportunities there are in Canada, honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, there's so many ways to leverage your experience, leverage your skill set to get paid, do things for more people that, yeah, we make our own lives hard by only focusing on what we already know.
Exactly, man.
I hear you. Benita, welcome back. It's good to see you. Or good to see your screen there. So what we're going through here is we're just going through a list of like what stood out for us after that video and after this kind of session. So from like the change leadership and social entrepreneurship kind of perspective, like what that means to you, and what kind of stood out to you when you're watching the video and going through this program. Are you there? Are you on mute? She told me she was having problems, like she left and came back, so maybe. Raisa? Raisa, do you want to go? We'll wait for Benita in a bit.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can go now. It's okay.
Okay, thanks.
So I was going to say that I like how the guy in the video mentioned more how the government really focuses on the problems instead of being problem solvers. I feel like if more people spoke more about it, like around the community, then the government might bring in change, especially here in the diaspora, like Canada, because I feel like the government really hears what the people want. So I feel like if we speak more in it, then they might bring change. And I also like what Jemima said, how about the waves helping Africa without us needing their help. I feel like the government is just there for their own benefits. And I also wanted to thank you, Papa Ike, for sharing this with us, because I have not learned this at school at all. So if I wasn't in this group, I would not be knowing anything about this, because I've always been interested in opening up like my own organization and all that, but I didn't even know where to start. So I even took screenshots of some of the slides that you showed us. And
you don't need to do that. I'll give you the PowerPoint. I'll give you all the information. Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. And I also wanted to say, I think Vincent mentioned something about Congolese not having like enough shops of our own. I was gonna say, I feel like we Congolese don't really like stuff that like long process, that have a long process. I feel like we don't really have enough patience, maybe. I don't know. I feel like we don't really have enough patience. We don't like stuff that take too long. And we also don't know. We also don't have resources on these type of stuff, you know, or connections. Yeah.
Beautiful answer. Really good. You guys thought through things, eh? You guys weren't just doing whatever today. Good stuff. Benita, are you there now? Okay, probably not. Let's go, Papa Ndembe. You're gonna close it up for us today.
No, what I would say, really, I'm very much encouraged to see the young people. Last time, what we talked about when I heard about the dreams, the vision my friends are having, I said, wow, he's starting. So what I will just to comment here, dream big, vision, but develop also passion. And passion will drive you to your dream. And, the start even loving. I want really to share two examples which can be very inspiring, but I don't have time. If I could just say maybe one in short words, in Ethiopian, there's a young man who started a project which has been really a big project. Is the cleaning of the city. And the way he did it is very cleaning the city. It was a very dirty city, Ethiopia, you see. So what he started first, he mobilized young people of his own age. They started cleaning some part of very critical places where they saw that it needed in the city, and the moral, but they did not become visible. And now, no finance. What they did is to you'll call it like a tax parking law, So they got people back up them that wherever you park the cars, because that wasn't there, you pay some money for the parking lot. And that money, they use it now. Today, I tell you, the city is clean and is moving. The guy got a prize from the government by doing things. It just started small. And I like, I don't know, say it's Jolly or what, say that young people, Congolese, we are not patient. I think, I don't know who said it. I like that. To build things that it needs time and need patience. And I can even jump because just to tell you, we talked about Hampton. I visited the University of Hampton in the States, and they told me about that. But when I visited the church, the church, First Baptist Church there, the leader, I found out he is from Nigeria, but most of them they are black Americans, and they told me how he rise to up the leadership. They received him in the church. He was like somebody coming from Africa. He had no income, but you know what he did? He started painting volunteer on painting the house. And so he developed a passion in painting, and he started doing studying in painting. Today, he has a company of painting company, houses. And he is the leader there. I would say that he became a leader because now he trained many black young people, and then he's using them in the church. All his company, the people of the church there who benefit from the company. Oh, I tell you, patience, small things, and then you can just develop. I think I commend this to all young people. You have the strength. You have all to you can, but dream. There's small things. You can even become expert in a small thing in the area that you think that you will not tell, but you will become an expert. So thank you again, Ike and everyone. I'm here to really encourage each and every dream that we dream here. There's no small dream, small dream, but let's develop a passion to that, because that passion will drive it to there. That's what I have to say. Yeah.
Thank you so much. No, thank you, Papa Ndembe. Thank you, all you guys, for being present. Thank you for going with us through this journey. For a lot of the materials for UIP, we finished, so you can dust yourself off three time, whatever. Right now we're done that. We're gonna be moving on to a strategic planning session where we're gonna be looking to put down like ink to paper. I know that these sessions where we've asked you guys to type or interact in certain ways, sometimes that hasn't worked out as well. So we're going to be looking into different ways to kind of gather that information and develop a strategic plan, and then also stepping out into the space of acting as change leaders. So after finishing this program, you guys are 1-2 steps ahead of a lot of people in the community. So it's not an expectation we have for everyone, but the hope is that certainly the majority of you guys will kind of continue with us as we try to build off of this foundation here. And then we can go. Actually, looks like Felicia's coming back in real quick. We'll get Felicia to say her like what stood out to her, and then we'll wrap it up for today. We'll start up Friday with strategic planning, and then the week of, I do believe, the 20th or the 27th, we're gonna bring back the issue of like representation in the school system. I'm going to ask my dad, who's a post-colonial scholar, to come and do a little presentation about how it is that Black people got left out of like a lot of like the history books, a lot of these kind of things. It's very fascinating to hear that a little bit more in depth. So we'll have some strategic planning sessions, some more in-depth sessions, and then we'll try to plan like a kind of gathering, like a kind of online party, like we'll try to be all together one time. So that's what we have to look forward to coming up, and I'll be reaching out for you guys for that. But yeah, back to Felicia here. Felicia, you left us for a bit there.
Yeah, like I said, my Wi-Fi is not working, and so it's tethering off my data. So anyways, I was able to get back in, so I'm here.
Okay, no sweat. You and Jemima today are having those issues, but
yeah, I think I didn't pay my bill, so I think that's why the Wi-Fi is not working. So we'll call Shaw afterwards and see.
It's all good. But anyways, what stood out to you?
So I love learning about this kind of stuff. So like listening to all that, well, researching Stephen Biko first was interesting to me, and just learning about the different people and what they've done. Like even that one guy, I didn't know if he was from Louisiana in the States. Like I thought it was all maybe like African people that we were going to focus on. So it's just interesting to me. And I love
Rodney was from the Caribbean. I even wanted you to go bra 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 when we put him there.
I heard that. I was like, what? I was like, okay.
Yeah, and he had a big influence in Africa and
crazy. So great.
Huh?
It's uniting us. I love it. So yeah, so I just love learning about this and all the things that they're doing. And then, like I said, that video, I was like, you're like, I'm gonna end it there. I was like, no, I want to see the rest. I want to, so please send it. So it was good. I love learning about all this stuff. It's just and how it connects to like what we're doing and what we want to do through this group and through this mentorship. So yeah, it was good. It was a good night.
No, I think your ending is really perfect there, because it's really what do we do with this information moving forward. So hopefully we can really hit the ground running. Me, I want to knock it out of the park. Like I want to, like send a proposal to get a community center. I want to establish our mentorship groups. I want people, like moving forward, being upward and mobile and stuff. But anyways, yes.
In fact, I didn't say what really stood or what really I got here. Thank you for bringing all those, people and characters that we have learned today. I didn't know about this Paul Panda.
Paul Panda.
No. That is really good information for me. And then lesson learned there to see that we are outside of the country, but we can still make impact in our own country, even from far. So it's not by chance that we are where we are. And in our small contribution, I'm most thinking, who knows, who may end up seeing people who of influence can help some people back there. So we should keep eye on that. Really, it was really an eye-opening. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah,
I accept tips. Tips are welcome. Like this. Okay. Anyways,
Bangu, I cannot Bangu, but all we know is people inside. But we know that didn't know that we have people outside also. Really,
who did a lot. Yeah. All right, good stuff. So come prepared Friday to really dig deep into developing this strategic plan. And then thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Julie, for all your contributions. And yeah, thanks for giving me the 25 extra minutes there, because I know we went a little bit over, but wanted to just wrap it up nicely here. So anyways, catch y'all later.
La vie,
yeah, La Vie's there.
Okay. Monsieur La Vie.
Yes, I'm here, sir. Good night.
Donc, je voudrais avoir tes contacts. Hein?
S'il vous plaît?
Je voudrais avoir tes contacts.
Pas de problème. On peut échanger à travers Papa Ike. Il a les miens.
D'accord. Je peux. Et aussi, monsieur, qui est, je ne l'ai pas entendu aujourd'hui.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Ouais.
Il est là?
Non, il n'a pas été aujourd'hui.
Il n'est pas avec nous. That will be good if you.
I'll be able to connect you guys afterwards for sure.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway,
good night, everyone.
See ya.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.